Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of the Fetish Cafe. Today we will be joined by Bonepit. She is a lovely person and was just a pleasant person to talk to. And I really hope you enjoy the interview. I'm not going to spend too much of your time. Just say thanks for tuning in and enjoy the interview. All right, so I have started recording. I just want to, first things first, I want to get your age on recording.
hmm Yeah, I'm 20 years old.
Perfect. And so just go ahead and tell me whatever you're comfortable telling me just about yourself before we get into anything else. So, 20 years old. Do you want to talk about your job at all?
I'm actually self-employed. I have a handmade stuffed animal shop online.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Do you want to plug that?
Not
Or,
necessarily. It's vanilla. So,
okay, I understand. Okay, perfect. Anything else before we get started for real?
not necessarily. This is my first interview, so this is a learning experience for me as much as it is for you.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah. Okay, so what we call this, or what I'm calling this, is the Fetish Cafe. This is where we hang out and we discuss fetishes and what people are into. So today I am speaking with Bone Pit, as I will refer to you. And I just want to first touch on what your fetishes are. So
hmm
give me a rundown of the things you are into.
So my fetishes are bondage, degradation, masks, and sensory play for the most part.
Okay. Awesome. When did you first realize that this was something you were into? Like, how old were you? What triggered it?
I think I was actually around the age of 14 or 15.
Okay.
And for me, what sparked it was actually Tumblr back when, the golden days of David Karp owning Tumblr.
Okay. Yeah.
The porn on there wasn't necessarily well kept, and it was really easy for minors to get too exposed to that. And I think the first thing that I saw was a rope bunny, and that piqued my interest. I wasn't sure what it was. I wasn't sure if I liked it. But the more that I educated myself on BDSM, I found a certain freedom with it. I was able to, in the moment, nowadays, I'm able in the moment to let go of my anxieties and to only worry about what's going on in that moment.
All right. So, discovered something on Tumblr. I wanted to ask what you said that was, because I kind of missed that. What did you say that you discovered on Tumblr that kind of triggered the whole thing?
Oh, it was a photo shoot of a bondage bunny, and that just absolutely piqued my interest.
Okay. Now, when you say a bondage bunny, is that like a?
That's actually the term for specifically girls that like bondage and to be tied up.
Oh, perfect. Okay. See, as you can tell, I'm not eh, super familiar with that.
Oh, well, I mean, I've been researching the scene for a couple of years and I learn new things every day. The scene is so big.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so you found this out, and I'm guessing you dove into it a little more. Did you tell anybody? Like, did you tell a close friend, a family member? Did you?
I did share it with my best friend at the time, but other than that, I mostly kept it to myself until I was 18, just to avoid being a minor in kink and all of the issues that came with that.
Absolutely.
But today, both of my parents know that I participate in BDSM. My father knows next to nothing, but my mother and I actually discussed it at great lengths. We've discussed sub drop and dynamics and contracts.
Okay. Awesome. Wow. So you're going to educate me a little bit. So let's talk about this just a little bit more. So you said you confided in your best friend at the time. What did
Mhm.
they think? Were they open to it? Did they think you were weird? What was the overall turnaround on that?
He today is actually my master.
Really? Okay.
Mhm.
Awesome. So so you the person you told you eventually came into a relationship with, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
After many years of being close friends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, awesome. So let's talk about a few things. You mentioned something you said sub drop.
Yes.
Okay, explain that to me.
So, when you are in a scene and you're experiencing rising levels of adrenaline, dopamine, and things like that, you're on a bit of a high. After scenes, it's actually quite common, not just with submissives, but also DOMs, is something called sub or DOM drop. And that's basically what comes up must come down. Your brain chemicals go down, and everyone's is a bit different. Sometimes it's a bout of depression or guilt, sometimes shame. And that's really where aftercare comes into play.
Right. Yes. No, I am actually very familiar with aftercare. Um, and the importance of that is just really big. So when was what? How old were you when you first got to actually participate in this? Because for so long we look at things online, and then we wonder when we're actually going to be able to do it. Right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I wondered that for years. And I avoided participating as much as I could until I was 18, and I didn't participate until I was 18.
Okay.
My best friend actually moved in with me and we started adventuring, and it's been about 2 years now that we've been actively participating.
2 years of active participation. Awesome. So explain to me a day in the life, right? So you live with your master. And just kind
Hmm.
of give me a day in the life. What do you do?
Well, we don't necessarily live in a 24/7 dynamic, but
Okay.
every morning I do make my master coffee. If I cook food, I always serve him first. And to clarify, I never deprive myself of nutrients, but I do serve him first. It's the act of, you are my master, you are my alpha, you get to eat before me. And it helps fuel our dynamic, but it's just little things here and there to show appreciation.
Okay. Awesome. Um, and so you said it's not a 24/7 dynamic, though?
Not often, no. We do have a couple days where it's 24/7 straight, but it's not very often that we participate in that deep of the headspace.
Right. Okay. That's fair. So you also mentioned sensory play. To
Hmm.
what extent is sensory play? Actually, let me back up. What do you define sensory play as? Like, what is sensory play?
Sensory play to me is to be blindfolded, and in a sense, you basically sensory play to me is being blindfolded and giving my body into the hands of my master and letting him do pretty much whatever he wants to do to me to incite a reaction. So that could be anything from spanking, hitting, choking, tickling, any number of things, whatever he's feeling in the moment.
Right. So you're kind of into the whole experience. Then
Absolutely.
you are a true submissive in that sense.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Wow. Um, do you ever do you ever trade? Do you ever swap? Are you ever a dom, or are you strictly submissive?
Actually, when I first started educating myself on the subject, I thought I was a dom. It helped me mm, regain a sense of control, but I realized that it ended up making me feel empty. And when I switched roles into a submissive stance and placed myself into somebody else's hands, I felt free. I didn't have to worry. Someone else my master has my back. He keeps me safe and we can have fun together, and I don't have to worry about anything. So I have experienced the Dom side, but I would much rather prefer the submissive side.
Okay. Wow, that actually does sound really nice. I mean, the sound of being free is awesome. Uh,
It's hard to get there. You have to remind yourself that when you're in that moment, nothing matters except for what your dominant says.
wow.
And that's where trust comes into play. I would not trust anyone else to be my master except for my best friend because we've known each other so long.
Of course. And there has to be such a strong level of trust there. Uh, has
Oh,
there has there ever been a time that it just pushed too far for you?
absolutely. And there have been times where I had severe sub drop because of it. Everyone gets pushed to their limits, and eventually your pain levels get so high that it doesn't matter how much dopamine or adrenaline is in your body. You're going to be hurting and you're going to need a break.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can take before. Yeah,
Absolutely.
of course. Let's see. So, let me think here. What is something how would you sell someone on becoming a submissive or a dom? Like, what if you were to say the best point of it? And I'm guessing we've already answered the question, but I'll still ask it. What's the best point of doing what you do?
I would have to say it's pleasing my master and feeling free, having that feeling of being a good girl and not worrying about anything else.
Awesome. Now, I wanted to touch on degradation a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, does that ever? I guess the question I want to ask is, does it ever become not fun anymore? I just imagine a point where I don't know. Are you always okay with being talked to a certain kind of way? Is there ever a day when it's like you don't want that?
Oh, absolutely. I
Okay.
think everyone ebbs and flows in what they want. And even though I love being degraded, there are certain words and phrases that I prefer not to hear because it reminds me of trauma from my past.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I would say for the most part, yes, there are moods for it and days where I would prefer not to partake in that.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So it's not a always on kind of thing.
No.
So when you talk about mask, are you just talking about like bondage masks?
Um, well, actually, for me personally, I like the masks that were move defining features.
Okay.
Um, I'm not sure why. That's one I'm still exploring to this day.
Sure.
But,
Now, when it comes to bondage, what type of bondage do you do? Rope bondage? Are you doing like? Can you explain?
recently I have been getting into rope bondage and just recently a bit of suspension. Nothing too crazy, but yes, mostly rope bondage.
Okay. Wow. I find rope bondage the most interesting. There's a lot of Japanese culture that's steeped in rope bondage, and that's something I'm very interested in.
Oh, shibari photography is amazing. And what I love about shibari is it's not necessarily about the sex, it's about the feeling of the rope on your skin and how it feels to be hung and things like that. It's beautiful.
Yes, absolutely. And that was, I'm glad you brought that up. That was something I was going to ask is, so do you enjoy the bondage? I'm sure you enjoy it for the sex, of course, but like, does it ever reach that point where it's just like you just enjoy the actual ropes on your skin and just the bondage as a whole?
Oh, yes, absolutely. There are times where I ask Master just to tie me up and leave me be.
Oh man, that's cool. That's very cool. Is there anything else you want to touch on or talk about?
I think I'm good. Is there anything else you'd like?
I don't really think I have any other questions. Is there anything you want to say to anybody that would be listening?
I would say that our biggest problem as a society right now, as far as sex goes, is kink shaming. We don't just do it to other people, but we also do it to ourselves. We shouldn't be ashamed of the things that we enjoy so long as they follow the core tenets: safe, sane, and consensual.
Here, here. I actually second that. I don't understand why we have to shame anyone for things of that nature. As sexual beings, we should just be accepting of what everybody's into. It's just
Absolutely.
the way I
And
feel.
if anyone out there is feeling like they're just this absolutely sick, depraved, disgusting individual, you know what? You are, and you should let that freak flag fly. It's beautiful. You are beautiful, and your fantasies are worth it, so long as they are safe, sane, and consensual.
Absolutely, and that's absolutely the point of this show. Thank you for saying that because when it comes from somebody outside of this project other than me,
Mhm.
it kind of hammers the point home. I couldn't agree more.
I'm glad that it helps you, and I'm really hoping that there's other people out there that get help from this series. This is such a beautiful idea, and I thank you for doing it.
Oh, well, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great day.
You too. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks.